Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel, and we're picking up where we left off with this ICS Tomahawk. If you missed that video, I fitted a prototype HPA kit from Mancraft into Kicking Mustangs Tomahawk by ICS, and when we pulled all the barrel bits and pieces apart, we found that his rubber was completely destroyed, which you'll see here. It's completely destroyed. So this is turned inside out, but just so we could have a look at the contact patch. But he's obviously had a blockage and it's destroyed the rubber. However, I've been given a couple of these Sniper Mechanics Flamingo rubbers to test out. They're the Flamingo AEG ones. So I'm going to be putting one into his rifle. This was something that he said he'd get sorted out for me. And obviously that lines up incredibly perfect in that window. Of course, we're still going to have the issue of having a very thin nub that sort of sits on there like this, but we should have, get it back in the game until we can get, an aftermarket hop if anyone's doing one. I think there was a rumor that TNT were working on one, so we can get this thing put back together and we can get it out there and tested. So we pop the barrel back in. We've got this funny little clip, which I'm just going to make sure the barrel's lined up. So we've got this little steel clamp that sits on the cutout on the barrel. I'm going to be able to do this while trying to keep it in shot. So that sits on the barrel there, and now the barrel can't really rotate. Yeah, just line that up there. We've got a couple of these little grub screws to pop in. So what size we got here? I think it might be a 1.5. Yes, it is. So we can pop these in. This will grab onto that steel bar and then grab onto the barrel, clamps the barrel together, which is quite a good little way of clamping the barrel without damaging the barrel, because sometimes with barrels, when they're not made of strong materials, they can actually pinch the inner barrels in and squash them. So let's get that nipped up there. We'll just check it, and that is nice and firmly in place, and it helps square the barrel up. So, +1 for them doing that. What do we need to do next? Let's fit that goes over, but uses the outer barrel to clamp in. Come on. We'll go in this way instead. We need to place this on the arm, which will push down into the hop unit. And these grub screws hold it in place. What size are those? 2.5? 2.5. So we'll just sit these. Oh, it's going to pop out. I'm not a fan of this design, to be honest. It's very giving you a massive margin for error. But equally, if you did have flyers, let's say you use the TDC to push straight down, if you had some flyers, you can adjust it on those screws to help sort that problem out. And we're going to push this in. There we go. Whacking my hands off the desk at the same time. This can spin, which is annoying. Place that in. Which it has spun. Come on. Sit in position. And what we want to see is that little circle, silver circle, where it's on that barrel clamp, which is good. We can get these grub screws added in. We need a 2mm. 2mm. Slightly nip it. Hope the barrel's the right way. I think it is. I think the clamp's on the bottom, isn't it? This hop is different. It feeds from the top, not the bottom. Don't need to be insanely tight. Like so. We have his Tomahawk, which is going to be difficult to keep in frame because the gun is massive. Slide this in here. Going to cock the rifle so we get it out of the way and pull the magazine off. That sits in place. Barrel lock works, which is good. That sits in place. That's all good to go. We need to clamp this down with a 4mm. Give this a spin. And that is his Tomahawk good to go. So that works. We need to hook up some air and we need to test that this is feeding. So I'll put a couple of BBs in there. We're not here to test the power because obviously we can adjust that when we set his air tank up. Just put a couple of BBs in to make sure they feed. There we go. Airline. Just what I'm using is what I've got to hand, which is a Wolverine Category 5 regulator. It's currently set to 100 psi. I've just loaded it up with a 0.3. We can check the dual output doing so. He will obviously use something much heavier. Let's give it a dry fire first. That's with no suppressor on, of course. Let's add the suppressor. Could do with something with a bit more volume on the suppressor. So suppressor on. Give it another dry fire. Yeah, much quieter. Let's put a magazine on. We'll do just a test round first to make sure it feeds. Oh, round fell out the barrel, probably because we've got no hop on. So I'll add a bit of hop. Test it again. Yeah, that works. Sorry, I'm doing this off camera. Let's get the chrono. We have it set to 0.3 grams, which is what's in there. Just what I've got to hand, that's all. Let's test the output. So, on a 0.3, it's running 405, which is 2.29 joules. That's at 100 psi. There. 100 psi, so we can go up or down on that. He can set it to what he wants, and yeah, we can go from there. So it's functioning, it's feeding, nice and quiet. Obviously still need to try and sort out that magazine spring thing, so let's disconnect the airline first. Gun is now safe. We can turn that off. This is what I love about these regulators as well. Watch this. That's all you get. Brilliant. I do love that regulator. So the magazine, there's actually a couple of BBs left in there, which are just 2 rounds. Let's have a quick look at this, shall we? How many screws you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 screws. We're going to need some speedy screw action here. Let's give it a tap and whack. So you'd probably do that first, tap that pin out. That then lets this loose. And then we should be able to safely just note how that comes out, which was like that. Safely pull this apart now. Spring for that. Spring for mag catch. That isn't much of a spring at all. So we're going to have to try and see if we can find a replacement for that in the plethora of parts that I have absolutely everywhere. Right, couldn't find a spring of the right size and diameter. You probably want to use the same size spring, just a stronger or a thicker coil of thicker diameter of wire. So I just took the standard spring and I've just stretched the hell out of it. Hopefully this will help provide just a little bit more tension, and we'll see if it works. Who knows? It's probably going to want to try and jump out. Hopefully we can get it into position before it does that, because that would be bad. Let's see here. It's already wanting to jump out. It's that strong, which I suppose is a good thing. See, perhaps if we hold it in like that, it'll hold it in place. Kind of sits off a little bit at an angle. However, it's because it's a longer spring now. But I can't see it popping out, and it is a lot stronger. So hopefully this will be a short-term fix, so he can use it and lower the risk of popping his magazines out. Let's pop this screw in. Relatively easy to take apart, if I'm completely honest. You just want, I don't know why they didn't just beef up the wire diameter on that spring. Like, surely they'd have tested it and gone, this spring isn't very strong. But, you know, the reason why we're here is proof that, you know, they probably haven't done that at all. Let's pop these screws back in. Getting all caggy-handed now. I think it's because I haven't had anything to eat yet. I'm getting the shakes a little bit. Need to get some grub. But I've done quite a few videos today. At the time of this going out, obviously it's going to be a lot further along in the next week, but I think I've recorded about 3 or 4 videos today. Some of the stuff's on the AKM. We obviously fitted the Bavtac nub, hop and barrel upgrades. We had a look at the AKM bolt. I do have some downgrade valves coming, which I'm just testing at the moment. So that'll be good, because they do tend to put out a little bit of power. So just pop this in, stay where you are. Thankfully spotted that pin. It has been spray painted, so it kind of blended in, but doing that at the same time as doing the other parts would have been a nightmare. So we'll pop that pin back in. Let's give it a tappy wacky. And there we go. We have a much stronger pressure on that spring now. It's not going to get rid of the problem, but it is going to alleviate it a little bit. So yeah, it's going to be much harder to accidentally catch that. It's quite a lot of force. So that should help him out. And yeah, we've completed his Tomahawk. Hopefully you'll see this coming up in his future videos. I've left his line that come on the kit quite long, just because he can shorten that to whatever he needs to shorten it to. Thanks for tuning in to another video, guys. And as always, from me and Bench, I'll see you in the next one.